Alright, so we're back. I'm doing the Revenant review. So this is a really good movie. So you want to hear spoilers? Because I doubt you would be able to watch it right now. There's a lot of blood, gore, cursing, and woman gets raped. I'll get down to that though. The only thing I hated about the movie was how they portrayed the Indians. The Papanee are the good guys in this version, and which is understandable because his son's the Papanee. I think that's the name of the tribe.
Your fish now.
Stop now. But in the traditional story, the Papanee are not. They weren't in the original telling of him. It was the Sioux Indians that protected him, and the Sioux are depicted as the bad ones in the movie. And I hate that, because in the original, in the story of Hugh Glass, the Sioux Indians are the ones that clothed him, gave him food, and protected him. It was the Aracaras that were bad, basically, and the ones that would later kill him 3 years later after the grizzly attack.
How long did he spend, like, in the real story, how long did he spend out there?
I can't remember. I think it was just a few months. Okay, let's start with the real story of Hugh Glass. He was a fur trader for the government. He was out in the Missouri River area. He was on the Missouri. He was a fur trapper. And he splits off from his camp to go after some beaver, and instead finds a mama bear and her 2 cubs, and the mama bear attacks him and basically mangles him. After he makes some blows to her, I forget what he actually did, and his fellow trappers came by and shot the bear to death. He was severely mangled, so 2 men were left to stay behind with him until he died. And they didn't. They basically laid the bear fur on him and left. However, it's talked about whether it was John Fitzgerald who did it, or Jeff Bridges, or not Jeff Bridges. Oh my gosh! Hold on. Jim Bridger, dadgummit. I know all their names, but Jim Bridger. However, it's speculated that he wasn't the thinker in that because he was so young. Anyway, he crawls out of the pit, he kills a rattlesnake and eats it, and lives off berries and whatever he can find for...
Is that dead?
No, he's fine. And he lays his back up against a rotten tree and allows the maggots to eat the dead, infected skin, or wounds. Then he crawls his way to a Sioux Indian camp where they take care of his wounds, they clothe him, and everything. And then he walks all the way to Fort Miles, I think. Fort Miles. Of which General Ashley he discovers what happened to everyone. Everyone finds out he's alive. Dadgummit. And he finds Jeff Bridges, and because he's so young, he forgives him. But then he goes off and joins the army, and that's where he finally finds John Fitzgerald. Well, if he had ratted John out, John would have probably been killed for leaving a man behind. However, in the story, Hugh Glass threatens him that if he ever left the army, he would come and kill him. That's how the story goes. And then 3 years later, Aracara Indians killed him and other fur trappers and took their guns and weapons, clothes and horses, and they went back to Fort Miles, the Indians, And when they discovered the weapons belonged to Hugh Glass and the others, the Indians were captured and hung. That's the story of Hugh Glass. So, and I hate that in this story it's portrayed that the Sioux Indians were the bad guys, because it's not historically accurate. I think that when you do these movies that are so good, you should try to be as historically accurate as possible. And this is just a quick Google search away. But
yeah, but sometimes even the internet isn't accurate.
Katie, the Sioux Indians helped him. It's in the stories
I know
too.
that,
But basically, you open up this movie, you find Hugh Glass and his son. I can't remember his son's name. Hawk. Hawk is his son's name. And he is half Pawnee. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Pawnee. And they're out in the wilderness, and in the very beginning of the movie, they're attacked by, I guess, Sioux Indians. And it is a brutal fight. A guy just walks out of the woods naked. The Indians stole his clothes, and all of a sudden, arrow goes through his chest. Arrows start flying in everywhere, and it is an awesome battle. I mean, people are getting stabbed, they're getting axes thrown, they're getting shot. He raises his gun and shoots an Indian out of the tree, which is pretty awesome. I mean, people are also getting drowned, and they're all trying to collect as many pelts as they can, because that's a lot of money back then. And they travel down river as far as they can, and they get to a small area where they take shelter and try to hide from the Indians. And they go in to make camp in the woods. And Hawk, I guess, gets sick or something, and Hugh goes out into the woods to go look for elk. I mean, this is some beautiful scenery as well, because in the very beginning, you see Hugh Glass, his son Hawk, and I guess it's General Ashley, who are out there, and they shoot an elk. It's very beautiful scenery. Back to this. I'm trying to think here. He sees the baby bears, and you hear the roar behind him, and all of a sudden the mama bear comes out, and he doesn't even get a shot off. She just takes him to the ground. She just rips him apart and bites him, and she's just mangling him. Then she lets off, and the graphics for the bear is amazing. And she walks off for a second to go beat the cubs, and he's kind of dragging himself after he played dead for a few minutes, and he's trying to get his gun. Well, the bear comes back, I guess, with the cubs to feed him, and he shoots her in the shoulder, or no, it was the neck area, and she attacks him again and just gets him even worse. She gouges his neck, and he finally gets his knife out and stabs her, and she gets disoriented, and they both tumble down a hill. And it's just a few,
on top of him.
just a few seconds later, and some men come by, and they scare off the cubs. They get the bear off of him, really, and it's kind of, they start talking amongst each other that, holy crap, he killed a bear, he did all this, and he is, like, severely beaten down. Well, they patch him up a little bit, then they bring him back to camp. Then for another, like, 30 minutes, they're dragging him through the woods. You hear Tom Hardy's John Fitzgerald is just complaining the whole time, saying they should end his misery and all of that. I'm trying to think here. And finally gets to a point where General Ashley asks for two men that he says he'll pay them $100, which is much back then, to sit with him until he died, because he couldn't gather up the courage to put him out. So Hawk stays behind, Jeff Bridger stays behind, and John Fitzgerald for the money, because he had lost a lot of money in the pelts. And there's basically just a bunch of mumbling, and they're curing his wounds for a while. Then he gets to a point where John Fitzgerald's had enough and asks him to blink if he wants him put out of his misery. Well, he held his eyes open for like a whole minute, and then he has to blink, and he takes that as the saying yes. He starts tying him down, getting ready. Then Hawk comes out and tries to protect his dad. He's hysterical, so he doesn't really know what to do. He's holding the gun to John Fitzgerald, and finally gets to a point. John puts him down and stabs him, and Hugh Glass is there. He can't do nothing because he's basically he can't talk or nothing. And then Jeff Bridger comes by, and it kind of looks like an oh crap moment with him. He tries to figure out a story. He says that he wandered off, and basically Hugh Glass is murmuring, "You killed my son," for all night. And later on that morning, John tricks Jeff Bridger into thinking that there's Indians and that they gotta leave. And Jeff, being like a little kid, they both leave him behind. They put him into a grave and they leave. And there's just a whole... He crawls out of the pit and lives for... he is surviving at this moment. And you go back to them, Jeff Bridger and John Fitzgerald. It's kind of low, not boring, but just kind of low tempo for a while. And they've come across the town, Jeff Bridger, where the army has killed a small camp of Indians. Jeff Bridger gives the only surviving woman some meat. They camp there. They share a story that night. And Jeff Bridger is just sick this whole time because I forgot to say that part. He finds out that John lied to him. That he lied about Hugh. And he puts a gun to his head, and John just basically beats the crap out of him for a second. They both head off to the Fort Miles. I think it's Fort Miles, I want to say. Loosen my neck. And Hugh Glass, he gets a walking stick, and this is just a whole, really just a whole. You have to watch the movie to see what he goes through. I'll just skip forward to some small parts. He meets up with the Sioux Indians, and the Sioux Indians, that you find out in the movie, they're trying to find the chief's daughter who had been missing. Someone had taken her. And they come across a river where Hugh is, and he hides his gun, and he slips into the water, and they find his gun, and they find him. They start shooting at him and all that. He's able to get away in the freezing river. And later on downriver, you see he makes a fish trap. He's able to grab a small fish, and he eats it raw. He's just chowing down on this raw fish. Then he takes camp, and hours later, well, after that, he sees a pack of wolves take down a bison. And a few hours later, a Pawnee Indian takes care of him and feeds him a bison liver. And he's chowing down on that just as much, and he ends up puking it all up because he's eating it raw. And he tells him how they had left him in behind, and he killed his son, and he feels for him. They go off together. They are partners for the time being, and it finally gets to a point where he's mostly healed, and the Pawnee leaves him with some water and a small shelter, and Hugh Glass goes off on his own, and he runs across the French camp. The French fur trappers were buying stolen pelts from the Indians, and had given them the guns and horses to find their daughter. However, you find out they had the Sioux Indians. I can't remember if they're Sioux Indians. I think they are though. That they had their daughter the whole time, and he's there watching. A Frenchman drags her out. This is pretty graphic. He basically rapes her right next to a tree. You don't see anything, but you know, I had to turn away for a few minutes. Basically, he sneaks up behind him, puts a gun to his head, and gives her the knife. And she says she'll cut his junk off if he tries to escape. Well, Hugh goes off to get a horse, and all you hear is screaming. A few seconds later, she cut off his junk. She runs off. Hugh grabs the horse and takes off. The Frenchmen chase after him. They get away, though. And,
tiny.
no. They're all... No, I need to get on this review, Andrea. And, you later find out that she got away, and she's drinking water at the river. And he gets away before he meets up with the Sioux Indians again, and they chase him. He falls off the cliff with the horse. It's that whole really cool scene in the trailer. And the horse is dead. He survived.
Well, of course the horse is dead.
Yeah. He cuts the horse open, removes all the organs and everything, and sleeps in the horse
that,
the whole night.
One guy that did that with the camel.
Bear Grylls. He did a Bear Grylls. And I can't really remember anything else that happens after that. I think it's just mostly walking and all that until finally it gets nighttime. And he fires off a gunshot or something like that for food. And he's right next to Fort Miles. And all the men go out there. And John Fitzgerald knows who it is. Because he's like, oh crap. And Jeff Bridger, he doesn't know. He thinks it's Hawk. Because he didn't know that John had killed Hawk. And there's Toothless. They go out and they want to know who's there. And then you just see Hugh step into the light of the fire. And they see it's Hugh. Then you know what's going to happen. They say, "Get Jeff Bridger! Get Jeff!" And it goes straight to morning. Hugh Glass comes into camp, and everyone's kind of respecting him. Well, when Jeff walks in, General Ashley hits him in the face with the end of a rifle and just beats the crap out of the kid. The kid just keeps on exclaiming that he's sorry and all that. He didn't know. John tricked him. Well, General Ashley won't take none of that crap. And, no, you can't have any of the goldfish. And,
It's tiny, it's that big.
when they get inside and he's getting his wounds disinfected because they're pus-filled, the scars. He tells him, don't do anything to Bridger. He didn't know, he was tricked. But he says, where's John? He ran, didn't he? And they go off to go get him. And they track him down.
Why does your gator head have clovers in its eyes?
It's a tree injury. Hold on. And they split up to get him. And when General Ashley's walking around this cliff, John Fitzgerald pops out. And basically, General Ashley tells him that he's going to take him in. John Fitzgerald's like, well, I'm not too keen on your plan. And you hear a gunshot. So you don't know which one it is, but when Hugh Glass gets there, General Ashley was the one that got shot, and John Fitzgerald had scalped him. Now, John Fitzgerald, on a side note, had survived being scalped himself by Indians. But this was a white man on white man doing it, you know?
Yeah.
And Hugh is ticked off now because General Ashley was his friend. And he goes off and he tracks him down and shoots him. I think he lands the shot in the shoulder. And they just go on a huge chase. And fast forward a little bit, after falling down a hill, losing his gun, he just gets out, Hugh gets out his axe, John gets out his knife, and it's just a huge, bloody battle. John says, "You came all this way for your revenge. I hope you enjoy it. Nothing's bringing your boy back." And it's just a huge, bloody battle. Hugh gets his hand stabbed. I mean, axes going into their backs, being stabbed multiple times. I think
I'm actually picturing all this.
I think John Fitzgerald did a Mike Tyson on Hugh and bit some of his ear off.
Ah.
And finally gets to a point where Hugh says, "I won't kill you. That's in God's hands." And he slips into the river, and the Sioux Indians are right downriver. And one of them, I guess the chief, walks into the water and kills John Fitzgerald and sends him back downriver. But when they walk past him, you see that they found the girl. And she, just spared him, I guess. And then it goes off. Basically walks off and sees his dead wife. Magical moment, I guess. Then the movie ends. He got his revenge. It was a really good movie if you can just stand, like, all of that.
I think I can.
If you can't stand
The cursing wasn't as profusive. I don't like GD, but he says it like 7 times, I think, in the beginning. And it's only in like a 15-minute span.
In a lot of Leonardo DiCaprio
Well, yeah.
movies,
It's actually, it was surprising. It was that he didn't curse. He didn't say GD. It was all Tom Hardy.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. That's a really, really good movie. This is a long review, but it's a really good movie. Y'all have to see it. She can't see it, and Maddie can't see it. I don't think. Maddie might be able to see it. I'll ask Granddad.
Katie.
Nice going, Andrew.
I don't think Molly would like it.
Taylor.
I'm really not sure because it's very violent.
Taylor.
And everything.
Katie can't even stand Woman in Black 1 or Woman in Black 2.
Andrea.
Here, you go on. You got work to do.
I saw
Anyway,
the second one and it did not scare me. So.
I think that's about it. I'll have to wait a little while to do the movie chat today. I might do that tonight. So, guys, hope you like that review for The Revenant. Really awesome movie.
Make sure you put spoilers in big
I'll,
letters.
I think all mine are spoiler reviews. My longest review was for The Jungle Book, and that was over 33 minutes long.
I love that one.
But I basically told the whole story. It wasn't like, oh, this movie's so awesome, you need to check it out and all that. I tell the whole story in my reviews. But it was really good. Leonardo DiCaprio was... Is that an Oscar or is that Academy Award? It's the same thing. But anyway, he really did deserve the Academy Award. He was flawless. And Tom Hardy was really good. But the only thing I hated about the movie was the depiction of the Indians. You had 3 Indians that,
I wouldn't like the cussing because I cannot stand it.
Taylor, open the box. I can't.
Andrew, don't do this. Just leave the cats alone and go on.
This kitty.
Can't really think of anything else. But if you can stand a little bit of the gore, the war violence, some cursing, it's actually not as prolific as you'd think. Most of any cursing you get is in the first 15 minutes. Then you have like 2 moments, I don't even know why this is included, well, the first one maybe. The second one doesn't really sound like it was necessary. Of Tom Hardy, you don't see anything, but he takes a leak in the snow.
That's just weird.
Granddad fell asleep a few times while watching it. I had to wake him up. I was trying to wake him up when he was walking onto the French. I was trying to wake him up and say, hey Granddad, it was the French. And that was when the dude started raping the Indian woman. And I was like, oh crap, stay asleep, stay asleep, stay asleep, dadgummit. My nose is bleeding. So guys, remember to like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more content. Check out our other videos. We did an IDR trailer to X-Men Apocalypse final trailer. Jason Bourne, Honest Trailers, and Hissy of the Revenant, and now the Revenant review. And later on I'll do my movie chat once I have more screen time for my movie pitch for Godzilla 2. Man, my nose. So, remember to like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys.